Did you know that Kamala Harris is the first Indian American to serve as a U.S. Senator? From being a district attorney to making her way to the vice presidency, she has come a long way. But is she truly an inspiration or just another politician taking her frustration out on her aides? In this video, we will explore the groundbreaking journey of the first female vice president of the United States. Watch until the end because we've got everything you need to know about Kamala Harris. Harris was born on October 20th, 1964 in Oakland, California. Kamala Devi Harris was born into an extremely erudite household. Her father was an economist and her mother was a biologist. She grew up with big aspirations. Her entire family has been advocating for civil rights since the very start. Even as a toddler, Harris was made a part of civil rights protests by her parents. But Kamala did not have an easy childhood. Her parents divorced when she was 7, and she lived with her mother and sister in Berkeley. But despite her parents' differences, Harris embodied both her mother's and father's roots. Even as a child, Harris went to both a Black Baptist church and a Hindu temple. Her parents did their best to make sure the sisters grew into proud and cultured women. And their efforts didn't go to waste. A visit to India made Kamala's connection to her roots even more strong when she took inspiration from her grandfather, a high-ranking government official who fought for India's independence. Harris completed middle school in Montreal and attended high school in Westmount, after which she moved back to Montreal to attend Vanier College. After a year, she moved to Washington, D.C. to further her studies. Harris graduated as a political science and economics major from a historically black university, Howard University. But Kamala was not done with her academics yet. She soon joined the University of California College of the Law in San Francisco, where she lived with her sister Maya. Harris began her activist career during her studies when she served as president of the Black Law Students Association. In 1989, she graduated with a Juris Doctor and passed the bar within a year. Harris officially started her career as an assistant district attorney at the Alameda County Prosecutor's Office in Oakland. But her time there was not all too smooth. Soon after she began her career, she started dating the Speaker of the California Assembly, Willie Brown, who was 30 years older than her. Reportedly, it was Brown who had helped Harris to be appointed to the California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board. The relationship became the highlight in the media, and Harris had to suffer through a really hard time. However, the relationship came to an end when Brown was elected mayor of San Francisco, as the couple did not see a future in their relationship. After actively working for the Alameda County Prosecutor's Office, Harris was recruited by the San Francisco District Attorney, Terrence Halinian. With his guidance, she became the chief of the Career Criminal Division. Soon after being recruited, Harris prosecuted a teenage prostitution case in the city and made her way to the news with her controversial take on prostitution to focus on the girls as victims instead of criminals selling sex. With her zeal, it wasn't a shock when she ran for the district attorney in 2003. But what took people aback was the fact that her opponent was her former boss, Terrence Halinian. But she was unstoppable. With a vote of almost 57%, Harris became the first black woman in California to be elected district attorney. Kamala Harris was undoubtedly one of California's best district attorneys. She made a hate crime unit that focused on the hate crimes against LGBT children and teens, and a gun crime unit as well. But her career took a controversial turn when she pledged never to seek the death penalty. A San Francisco police officer was murdered. This brought several senators and mayors together to convince Harris to reverse her stance, but she did not budge. Although she received an immense amount of hate for this, a poll was conducted which resulted in 70% of the people being supportive of her decision. In January 2011, Harris made history once again when she became the first woman and the first African American to hold the office of Attorney General of the state. The election seemed to be an easy win initially. Still, her opponent, Steve Cooley, made a winning speech that fascinated the public to the extent that everyone considered him to be the winner. Once the votes were counted, Harris turned out to be the winner by 0.8%. Kamala Harris actively worked for the state as the Attorney General. She fought for California during the national mortgage settlement case. People considered her an attention seeker, but she got California $20 billion when the initial offer was $4 billion. As soon as the U.S. Senate elections were announced, Harris revealed her candidacy for the seat. For obvious reasons, her campaign made her the top contender. Both President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden endorsed her, and she ultimately won the U.S. Senate race. However, her opponent was a congresswoman with 20 years of experience. Upon her victory, she promised to protect immigrants. After her continuous efforts at the U.S. Senate, Harris was considered a top contender for the 2020 presidential campaign. In January 2019, she announced her candidacy for President of the U.S., but that didn't last for long, and she withdrew from the race, apparently due to a shortage of funds, and chose to endorse Joe Biden for president. That proved to be fruitful for her because, after Biden's victory, he was asked to select a black woman for the vice president. Since Harris was the only African-American woman with relevant political experience, it wasn't a hard decision for Biden. And now, after almost 4 years of holding the vice presidency, on July 21, 2024, Harris was endorsed as the Democratic presidential nominee by Joe Biden. If elected, she will be the first female, the first Asian American, and the second African American president. But does she deserve the seat? Although she has been known as a hero in history, if looked at carefully, her records show quite the opposite. On one hand, she was seen helping people make a life instead of putting them in jail, but at the same time, she literally fought to keep people in prison even when they were proven innocent. She pledged never to seek the death penalty, but she was seen defending California's death penalty system in court. She showed herself to be a human rights activist, but she is the one who refused to investigate so many police shootings. A former staff member shared that she was unwilling to do the necessary job and then went ahead and took her frustration out on her staff. He also shared that Kamala likes to take out her own lack of self-confidence on other people. She is actually a bully. So, who is Kamala Harris? Is she the saint that people have been looking up to for years? Or is she also just a political puppet who knows how and when to play her cards? Or maybe it's the fact that fame has gotten to her like almost every other politician. That would actually be a valid explanation, because she has been a progressive prosecutor for as long as people remember. But now that she has the visibility that has driven her to the presidential race once again, she doesn't need to be in the good books anymore. But what if she is the saint that she appears to be? What if all this negativity is just Trump PR? We all know Trump to be the racist and misogynist that he is, so it wouldn't be surprising to see that he intentionally put dirt on Harris's name for the elections. Harris has been the target of several verbal attacks. People have gone as far as to say she slept her way to the presidency. That is such a cliche move against women in power. As a U.S. Senator, Harris has challenged Trump in more than one way, which is why we can see Trump stooping to the lowest. So, who is going to be America's pick? A former prosecutor or a convicted felon? This was all from our side about the Asian American politician. Do you think Harris deserves to be a 2024 Democratic presidential nominee? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See ya!